Hey guys, welcome back to the Borgata $2,700 championship event. I am Michael Gagliano. Alongside me, Amanda Musumeci and Tyler Patterson. And we are back in action. If you guys are just joining us, blinds have gone up to 30,000, 60,000. Andy, who is just open shoved blind versus blind. Actually, we're going to have a big pot here. So Andy open shoves blind versus blind. He's effectively just putting Ben all in. Ben is the short stack with only about 15 big blinds.
Yeah.
And Ben's going to make the call with 2 jacks. We're obviously very happy to see 2 jacks here. And
I think this one kind of played itself.
yeah, Ben's tournament life will be at stake. Now that's going to just about do it. Ace-ace or 8-8. And I think that'll just, whoa, there's one. Everyone chuckles. But 4 jacks will do it for Ben.
It's just so easy.
If he was in the Borgata poker room, would he win some cash for making 4 of a kind today?
I think he would have made a high hand, yeah. That's definitely a good point there you make, Tyler. If that was the high hand, it's possible that there's a higher hand.
Hey, there we are.
Than the 4 of a kind.
It's a good looking group.
We are a great looking group. I agree. We got our comfy couch.
Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, we got the brains and the looks. We know who's who.
So Ben, who was the short stack, will double up. I believe he's still going to be the shortest stack. And even though Andy lost almost 1 million chips there, he's still going to be our chip leader with about 35% of the chips in play here.
Ben had how many blinds then?
He had about 15, about 900,000.
Okay, before he jammed, yeah.
Yeah. So that was...
Some warranted is raising and calling off with that kind of hand too, just so you can get like the worst part of Ben's range in there.
You think his hand is almost too good to be all in with there?
It was blind versus blind?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think, you know, why not give him a chance to get the worst part of their range in?
Yeah, that's definitely something to consider.
Especially when you're in Andy's seat with so many chips. It's
as many chips as
you can
he
afford.
has.
Yeah, you can afford a little bit more of like a, I guess, marginal.
Yeah,
call it, spot.
Sure. Something a little thinner where you might lose sometimes.
Right, like where if you're jamming and they're just gonna fold like a king 9 suited or king 10 suited, where if you just raise, maybe they just jam.
I think it's probably better for you if they fold the king 9 suited, actually, though.
You do?
I think so. Yeah.
You know, as a big stack, I think Amanda's got a good point. I'm like, maybe you don't care so much. Yeah. You know, because he's like we said, he lost 1 million chips. He's still chip leader. You know, and he gives Ben a chance to make more mistakes.
And I think against better players, you should be willing to take thinner spots just because they're better players.
Yeah, that's a really good
Try
point.
to get rid of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure, honestly. You know, both plays definitely have plenty of merit. Yeah. This is okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ripper gonna rip asks, what's more plus EV, the potato wedges or mashed potatoes?
Yeah, there was a lot of conversation about random food stuff.
Well, what do you guys prefer? Do you prefer mashed potatoes or potato wedges?
It's going to depend on the main course for me.
Oh, I see.
I'm like a sandwich with fries kind of gal, but if you give me like some turkey, then I'm going to need some mashed potatoes.
I see.
Tough spot.
I think it's, I don't know, for me it's almost always the mashed potatoes.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
I think that's good though.
I'm going to go wedges, but I don't really like answering this dumb question.
I'm like 70-30 mashed potatoes, so.
See more of a mixed strategy here. I see. So we got some action here.
GTO.
Justin Zaki opens the button off of only about, less than 20 bigs, about 18, 19 bigs here. Ben calls out of the small one with the 8-7, and then Jim squeezes to 210 with the ace-8. The raise was the 60, I believe.
High level.
Wait. Did Zaki just limp? I think Zaki actually just limped and didn't open.
Yeah, that's correct. That actually kind of makes more sense with this action.
Yeah, it does.
These guys are not deep enough to be raise, call, squeeze.
And where did he limp from?
He limped the button. Or cut off, I'm sorry.
Okay, I see cut off, yep. And he started the hand here with about 20 big blinds.
What do you think about Justin's limp here?
It's interesting. I mean, I don't hate it. I really like to see a flop with that hand. Don't really want to just jam it, or, I mean, if you open, you're going to have to fold if you get raised.
The limping strategy is something I see like coming in again more and more. It's still not one that I completely grasp, but I have respect for players who can implement it and, you know, actually make something of it. I'm not really certain with 20 big blinds if this would be my strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the merits. You know, Zaki doesn't want to open and then get shoved on. But at the same time, you know, you have aggressive players anyway that are still going to ISO you like Jim is doing here. And it still makes your life kind of tough. So Zaki finds the call, and it's probably just going to be getting in on this flop, I'd imagine. I'm not sure if Jim's going to bet or check, but with Justin Zaki's hands here, I don't think he's going anywhere.
And if I would imagine Zaki's just going to shove.
I think he's going to shove.
I would think so.
And then it's going to put James in a spot because it is a draw-heavy flop here, so he very well may, with all right, think that second pair is good and make the call. But let's see what happens here. I don't want to be too presumptuous.
I would imagine he calls too, yeah. I don't think he's...
He could find a fold.
He's a solid player, but...
Medium-sized Broadway stuff is definitely in a limping calling range, like the jacks. Like every jack, you know, from 9 jack up is in that range.
Sure, sure. The jack definitely hits that range. Looks like Zaki's just cutting out a call here.
Wow.
Yeah, he's just going to call.
And on his stack, it's...
I'm quite confused if I'm Jim and not too happy about the situation now.
Maybe Zaki thinks the hands that that he's going to get to fold, he can get to fold later on this in the hand anyway.
Definitely possible. You know, with less than pot behind, though, I'd be afraid if I don't hit this turn, he's going to go all in, and I'm going to be in a tough spot and probably just not be able to call. Obviously, a great card for Zaki as he makes it straight. And it'd be interesting to see how Jim plays this now.
Yeah, that's a tough spot for Jim now. It's a bad card.
Thinking every move over all of his options.
It's pretty hard to range people who limp.
On that stack,
when you haven't seen it, too, yeah.
And Justin's not really known for getting super out of line.
No, I wouldn't think so. Especially not with his stack size, just in general. So now we have the nuts. What are we doing here? Are we just pushing all in? Are we getting tricky? What do you think?
I usually like to just bet when I have a hand, but when your stack is already, like the size of the pot and your stack are close to the same, like you can do it on this street or the next street. I don't really mind checking here. If you think it's gonna, if you think another card coming is more likely to help Jim's hand rather than scare him.
Right, I think it just depends how you range Jim here.
Yeah.
If you think he has a hand like he has, then just check.
So Zaki puts a really small bet out there.
This is really interesting. Yeah.
What would it, 230 I think is what it was? Yeah, 235 into about 850, so about 25% of the pot. Think it was too small? You think you should go bigger?
His sizing?
Yeah.
I don't think I ever get to the street this way with these stacks, and I don't think
You said you would have just shoved the flop, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tough call for Jim here. I don't think he's going to be able to make it.
He's getting a pretty good price.
He is, but, I mean,
what's his plan?
You said, like...
Is he calling and calling again? I mean, if he calls, and then it's going to be, what, 500K if Justin jams the river?
Yeah.
It's going to be, like, 30% of the pot. I mean...
Really tough to call with bottom pair there, too.
Wow.
So he's going to call, and, I mean, I don't blame him too much here, because, like you said, he is getting a good price.
It does. I mean, just everything about that board hits the limping calling range, I think. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the limp call range is, but
I would think
I would put it on exactly that board.
I would think it's these types of cards, too. 3 pairs the board on the river, and I don't think that really changes too much. I think both players are pretty aware that the other person doesn't have a 3 really ever here.
But with Jim calling on the turn and the board pairing on the river, it's a non-diamond board pair. Guessing, obviously, Justin jams, and with this kind of river, if James really thought that he was good on the turn, be interesting to see if he somehow finds a fold down this kind of river.
I think he finds a fold. I'd be surprised if he calls here. I know some draws miss, but there's just, I mean, there's just too many hands that Zaki's going to have here, I would think. That just beat us.
Can't imagine Zaki.
You know, maybe
Bluffing from
well, maybe he's putting him on 2 diamonds.
Right.
You know, maybe he's just thinking, oh, maybe he's got 2 low diamonds, and I might be good here. And did he? I think Jim. Oh, no, he didn't fold. I'm sorry, that was the dealer button. I saw it got thrown across the table.
But with that thought, Tyler, then why is he calling the turn?
I don't like calling the turn at all.
I don't let the.
I just was trying to come up with a reason why he did.
Right, but given that he did, you'd have to think his logic probably doesn't match what you're thinking here. So I just. If he thought, again, I think he calls a turn not thinking he's behind. He's not. I don't think he's calling the turn trying to suck out. I think he calls a turn thinking he has the best hand.
Yeah, Jim looks definitely confused here. I think the limp pre confused him. I think flop call confused him. I think everything about this is just out of the realm of comfort for Jim here.
But as you said, yeah, the 500K into 1.3, just you wouldn't think you'd be bluffing.
Right.
At this point.
It's all of his chips too.
It is.
It's a big bluff. It's a big bluff if he's running one. Really, Jim just got to be thinking about those diamonds and how those diamonds missed. 7-6 of diamonds, King 10 of diamonds, those types of hands that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, limp calling, I think people limp suited hands probably a lot more than anything else. So flushes make a little more sense.
If you got questions, you got comments, you can come to Twitter, tweet at us, use the Borgata Poker Live hashtag, and we'd be happy to answer them. Jim shaking his head a bit.
He's a bit stumped, yeah. And talk himself into the call.
I mean, it is just if you have some reason to believe that he doesn't have it for some reason, it's I can't really come up with too many. Like you're talking about with the diamonds, maybe. It is a good price. That's why he called a turn and is thinking about calling the river. I think it's just
because of how often he has to be right.
Yeah, you know, like someone says here on Twitch, he only has to be right 22% of the time, which
there you go.
It doesn't seem like he would be, in my opinion, but I mean, I'm looking at the cards, I guess.
Jim really in the tank for a while here. It's been at least a couple of minutes already since he's been thinking this one over.
I mean, talking and laughing and smiling like he is, like it's definitely a weird pot. It's not a normal line. I mean, I like the idea of playing more streets when you have a 20 big blind stack or less than 20 big blinds like Justin did.
By limping, yeah.
Yeah. I like that concept, but I think you're giving up a lot by trying it. I mean, just winning the, 2.5 big blinds that you win from winning the pot pre-flop is worth so much.
Hear Jim say he's going to hate himself one way or the other, whether he calls and is wrong or folds and is wrong and calls, and he's going to find out later what Zaki has here.
He only has to take another 3 minutes and he can see it live. Maybe that's not true, but this has taken a long time.
And he folds.
I think that's the correct fold. I'd be hard-pressed to think that Zaki has that many bluffs there.
I agree.
So Jim makes the Payne's correct fold. Twitch chat saying, yeah, King 9 of diamonds, King 10 of diamonds, that type of stuff. I think those are the types of hands that Zaki may get there with.
Yeah, those are pretty specific. I think there's other things you can have.
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised that Zaki didn't just shove the flop.
Me too.
You know, when you limp call there and you flop that much equity, I would generally think those are the types of hands you just go with.
And you're looking for that kind of spot when you're, I guess, when you're limp calling with those kinds of hands, especially on that kind of stack size. It's just around 20 big blinds. It is kind of interesting to see him take it all 3 streets.
Well, see, Jack is definitely not folding on that flop. The Jack is definitely not folding in that spot, and maybe he thinks an 8 or worse, he can get to fold on a later street anyway.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. You know, like I said, I would just generally think if he's looking for, you know, I guess the only thing I would be thinking is if Jim is betting into me, maybe he's just not folding, you know, so he's waiting for some sort of, like you said, future street where he's going to see Jim slow down like he did, where he can jump on it.
I mean, you see Jim raise pre-flop. I would expect him to be
having pretty good hands.
I'd expect him to be not only that, but I'd expect him to aggress post-flop. I'd expect him to c-bet.
Right.
So we see Andy's still the big chip leader here. Stacks have reset a bit, but, you know, no one too short. I think this is the stretch where we're going to just see some, you know, a lot of small pop poker and chips going back and forth slowly.
I think that's all the more reason for Zaki to jam the flop too. You just know he's c-betting a ton there after he aggresses pre-flop. You can just take it down right there, and then with the.
It makes the hand easier to play for sure.
I definitely like it better too. I just am trying to get inside their heads,
right.
like trying to figure out why he did it the way he did.
You can semi-bluff, get it in when you still have equity, and when they should be folding a decent amount.
So Ben's going to open the 7-6 diamonds, and Zaki calls out of the big with Jack 5 of clubs.
Do you guys defend that wide in the big blind in these spots?
I mean, maybe remember last time when, you know, they played this pot and Ben had the Jack 4 off, I think. So
right.
maybe Justin's thinking that, you know, Ben's just raising really a lot of hands and he can get away with this. I mean, it's you know, it's suited hands. You maybe can hit some stuff. I don't know if it's you know, the best hands in the world. And there you go. There's some stuff happened.
This hand is so good. See?
Great commentary,
See
guys.
Great hand. Yeah. I mean, you make straight.
Once in a while you can hit, and there you go.
Yeah,
It's
some
just
stuff.
so,
Hey, look,
this is such an easy game. So
and they just check it down, and Ben doesn't even take a stab at it, and that straight's gonna win it.
So good.
I think it's me. So small pot for Zaki, but those are still the ones that, you know, you like to win, keep your momentum going.
They're all having a good time now. It's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, like we said,
Fun final table.
5, 6 professionals, and yeah, most of these guys are at least pretty familiar with each other from playing various events over the course of these series here at Borgata and elsewhere on the East Coast.
Oh yeah, there's on the screen there. Zaki's a WPT wants to watch. That's pretty cool.
That's for this season, right? Season 13,
so.
yeah.
About time, huh? He's been around long enough. It's an interesting mix of players who've been playing for a long time and some new ones in this season's ones to watch.
Yeah, I think they generally do a good job picking a mix of players for that. You know, some players that people haven't heard of, and some players that people have heard of. So we see Justin limps the small one here with the Jack 10, and Andy's actually going to ISO raise the 10-5 off, which, you know, not too surprising. We've seen Andy get very aggressive, but I'm a little surprised to see him attack this limp. You know, he saw Justin limp a couple hands earlier and continue with the hand, not just give up right away. So I'm surprised he chose 10-5 to do it with here. Let's see how Justin responds. If you're Justin and you limp Jack 10, is this a hand you're just giving up like this, or do you think you would see a flop here?
It's a tough one. You're playing out of position with that size stack is so tough.
That's sort of, you know, don't you invite that a little bit when you limp?
Yeah.
Especially against a player like Andy.
So you're saying you'd rather just raise with the hand like that if you were Justin?
I probably would. But I mean, if Andy's 3-betting with a frequency that you might think he would, then you're going to end up raise folding a lot, which is not great.
And I would imagine that's exactly what he's thinking, since Andy's been so aggressive in 3-betting. Jim with the ever pretty Queen Jack of Hearts going to open it up. I like how Andy just thinks everything over before he makes a fold. Just takes that extra second to think it through on whether he wants to make a 3-bet or not.
Yeah, nothing happens automatically in this group. Wow, we're advertising for the Mayweather Pacquiao
come check the fight out. I guess you can watch it live at the Music Box here at Borgata. $30 gets you your first drink included. And you can buy tickets at theborgata.com or at the box office.
You guys betting this fight?
May 2nd. No, I am not. I didn't no, I'm not. I don't think I even knew about it until yesterday, actually.
You didn't know about this fight?
No, I don't think I did.
You haven't been sweating this?
No, I have not been. I heard they were maybe going to do it, or so I saw that somewhere, like, oh, they're going to do it.
That was 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, then I saw that 10 years ago, and I didn't know it was actually happening, now.
They've been talking about it for at least 5 years. They should have done it 10 years ago when they were 26 and 27. Now they're 36 and 37.
Are they still? They're both still good though. They both still
they're
fight and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't
know that much about it.
I don't follow boxing at all. Like, I can't even tell you. I can't even name. I guess I can, Pacquiao or Mayweather and Pacquiao. I can name those two guys, but that's. I didn't even know their first names. Floyd Mayweather. I know Floyd Mayweather.
Last time we did this, I think
Maddie?
you said you didn't know
Maddie?
who was going to be in the Super Bowl, so I think...
No, I think I figured it out, didn't I?
Something like that, I don't know.
I can't tell you who it was. I can't tell you who won either, actually. Let me think for a second.
Nah, it's okay. We don't need to think about that again. The Seahawks lost.
See, I was going to say, I knew the Seahawks were there because I know you're a Seahawks fan. But I don't know who they lost to. I just don't know.
Have you heard of Tom Brady?
The Patriots. The Patriots won again?
Nice
Jeez.
job.
They won a
back
lot.
to poker. We're done with this sports commentary stuff.
Okay, here we go. We got a pot going anyway here. So Brian Lemke opens. Zaki calls with 2 sevens, and there he is. Andy finds the 3-bet with a bit of a better hand this time. Still on the lighter side, but definitely a playable hand. Now, if you're Brian here, is there anything we can do with our ace-6? Can we ever call here? Do we have to put in a 4th bet if we're going to play the hand, or do we just always fold?
I think a 4-bet's in order, but I'm looking at the cards, of course. I mean, it's a good squeeze spot for Andy, so it's not that great. It's under the gun 1. So those guys have pretty strong ranges, so it's not a spot where Andy should be out of line too often, but we know he's going to be.
It's Andy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just been so massively aggressive. I just feel like shoving almost any hand at this point is hard for it to be bad.
How much does Lemke have?
Lemke had about 2.5,
yeah,
I believe.
2.5.
That's a little big to be shoving.
In Justin's spot, though, I think he could. It's going to be hard for me to fold 7s in this spot, personally.
Yeah, and a lot of times the flat back raise does look like a medium pair type of hand, but I think in this case, he easily could have been flatting huge.
I mean, I also just think that, we literally can just turn our hand face up and just go all in and show Andy and say, hey, this is what we have, and if you got a hand to call me, go for it. because he's just light so often. You know, it's a little easier for us to see, you know, looking at the cards every single hand, though.
I mean, they're short-handed.
Tweet us your thoughts, guys. If you have questions about a hand, comments on the Borgata, what's going on at this table, anything in general, tweet us at use the hashtag BorgataPokerLive, and we'd be happy to respond.
Just with them being short-handed and Justin having about like 30 bigs, like these stacks are great stacks for him to be applying pressure with, like, you know, squeezing or 3-bets. So
Absolutely.
if I had 30 big blinds, or like between 20 and 30 big blinds, and this aggressive guy Andy is 3-betting or squeezing so often, I'm just going to find it really difficult. I'm going to think he's like leveraging my stack and just probably put it in.
And I think he might even be able to get some folds from hands that Andy would do this with for value, like Ace Jack, maybe even Ace Queen, because he can have probably not Ace Queen, but he can. Zaki's line is very credible to a big hand here if he just rips it. I mean, he flatting an under the gun razor. Zaki would do that with aces and kings a lot of the time, I think.
Something about the way he's carrying himself right now, I don't feel like he has that Zaki is looking super strong, so I'm not sure.
He's a little nervous, I feel like, this whole final table.
Looks like he's really actually thinking, instead of just like the faux thinking.
Fake.
Yeah, I don't think Andy's finding many folds with hands like Ace Jack and stuff here.
But I think that could be different if Justin maybe carried himself a bit differently, or maybe didn't take quite so long.
Yeah.
But it looks like he is thinking pretty hard about it, and it doesn't look like he's joking around. He looks serious. Don't cry, Justin.
I just don't, like, this is just not, I mean, I don't really love calling and then back shoving here, just in general, but I just would be hard pressed to find a fold with this type of hand here when.
At the same time, 30 big blinds is kind of a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot, but
30
Andy's
big
just been
blinds in with
so
sevens.
active, like,
Yeah.
and he has so many chips that, you know, it just, like I said, I think we can just literally show him
Look
his
at
our
that.
hand.
I mean, he basically did. He like grabbed his cards to fold. If he shoves now,
No.
he hated that one.
And I mean, just the aggression takes it down again. You know, those of you watching at home, man, we're gonna have some aggressive players after this final table.
He
Andy's gonna
hated
be
that one.
responsible for a lot of folks putting in some 3-bets.
He has every right to hate that one. I'd be angry too.
I believe they play one more level before a break, right? I'm not too sure.
Hey, there's our name in the lights.
There we are.
Now it's gone.
If you're just joining us again, this is the Borgata $2,700 championship event, final table, Spring Poker Open. I am Michael Gagliano. Alongside me, Amanda Musumeci and Tyler Patterson. These guys are playing for a $277,000 first place prize. With 5 players remaining, I believe they're all guaranteed about $61,000. And like we said, $277 for the winner, plus the Borgata Spring Poker Open trophy. Special thanks to our sponsor, Rymax, for bringing us this live stream today. You see some of their banners in the background. Right behind Ben, there's a nice shot of them.
With this tough of a table, those close spots, I definitely like to err on the side of gambling. So if I'm in Justin's spot there, I'm not passing that 7 spot up. It's just you're not. If it was a softer table, you might find some good spots, so you don't want to risk your 30 big blinds. But when everyone's a professional and super tough,
You got to take those more marginal spots. Absolutely, I agree with that.
If you're at a softer table, you're probably not getting 3-bet with the frequency that
good point.
Andy's 3-betting too. So Jim's going to put in the 3-bet with Ace-Queen here versus Justin's open. And I generally like this. Ace-Queen's obviously quite a strong hand here, 5-handed.
It's also good because, you know, I mean, you should be 3-betting, but just because Justin can also be, maybe he's a little bit tilted. You know, he took a long time to think out last hand. He obviously had to make a fold that he was questioning was right or wrong. I don't think anyone at this table was thinking that Justin was just Hollywooding last hand.
Sure.
So maybe James could also think he's a bit frustrated here. And with 30 big blinds for both them, approximately, definitely a good spot to try to 3-bet and try to get it in with Justin.
And I probably wouldn't have shoved with Justin's hand, like the 4-bet there. But
Ace-3 suited.
Well, ace-3 suited on its own in that spot is the hand that I want to do it with usually. Like it's the suited wheel aces is the good one to mix in, you know, for if you need some light 4-bets, that's a good hand to mix in. But just the fact that you might be steaming, it looks like you might be tilted from that last hand, you might get a little bit lighter calls than usual.
So short stacks again, Ben and Zaki both about just over 25 bigs. Not really that short. Still have some room to play. And here's again a look at what they're playing for. 62,000 for fifth, all the way up to the winner. Just shy of $277,000. Great event here at the Borgata, and you get a shot at our poker marketing team standing right in the middle of the room there, having a conversation about how things are going.
They've been pretty great helping us out with all this stuff.
Yeah, they do a great job. I mean, I think they do a great job with the stream, and the graphics look good, and they take care of us and back here, and just do a good job getting it out there for everyone. What's the buy-in for the tournament? The tournament was a $2,700 event. And like we said, they're playing for $277,000 the first year.
And this is the main event of this Borgata Spring Open Series. We do have the World Poker Tour Championship coming up tomorrow. Is it tomorrow?
It is tomorrow.
Yep, WPT Championship is tomorrow, the $15,000 buy-in.
So, but that's kind of a separate deal. This is actually the main event of the series.
For the Borgata Spring Open, right?
Yeah.
And then WPT, they visit Borgata here a lot now.
Yeah, they have 3 now
Throughout
every year.
the year, yep. That's great.
September, February, and now the championship as well. Championship brings in some big names from poker, all from all over the world.
The biggest, yeah. They'll all be here.
A lot of Europeans fly in and stuff that you don't always get for some of the smaller WPTs.
Could be a fun one to spectate.
There's a WPT party tomorrow night also.
It's tomorrow night, really?
I think so, yeah.
That's interesting. Interesting they do it before day 2. So Jim's going to open ace-8 in the cutoff. Looks standard enough. He's got the chips to do it. I don't see why he shouldn't. Although he's got open Andy's big, which has not been an easy one to take down for anyone at this table.
Got a suited queen. Where's he going?
I don't think he's going anywhere. Not with
Where's he going?
5.4 million. He's not. So let's see the flop. It's a good one for Jim and not much for Andy. I'd imagine we would just see Andy check fold on this flop and not much else action. I don't think Andy's going to get too super creative when he flops this poorly. But you never know. Andy's put some money in, been aggressive and put in some few spots, so it wouldn't surprise me to see some check raises here.
There's no guarantee that Jim bets this flop.
That's true. That's a good point. What do you like if you're in Jim's spot?
I'm always c-betting just because I would if I didn't have the ace.
Sure.
And because it's rainbow, you're not going to see a lot of check raises. You're not going to have to deal with check raise bluffs.
Even if he checks the flop, it just looks like showdown value-y still.
Right.
And Andy's pretty self-aware, I think. So knowing he's an aggressive player, even if Jim did check back with showdown value, it's like even if an aggressive player tries to barrel off on turn and river, I think he knows that he's image conscious enough to know that James may just very well call down with whatever showdown value he checked the flop back with.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So
I don't think it really induces much bluffs.
I don't think so either. So I think I just go ahead and c-bet the flop and maybe get a float out of him. If he does call the flop, maybe I'd consider checking back turns to maybe get some more value on the river.
Well, since he checked twice, he actually did induce Andy to bluff.
He checked back twice, and Andy led the river?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think,
That's
you know,
Second
that's-
check back definitely got it.
It's a good way, too.
Amanda,
We'll
what
take
you
that.
said, you know, about Andy having, or Jim having showdown value, Andy picked up on that and he's like, well, I guess my queen high's no good. Better try to take it down.
That's kind of a weird. I mean, I guess he's getting
If you think you have showdown value,
pairs less than 10 to fold.
yeah, if he thinks that Jim had showdown value, I'm curious why he would bet the queen high. I mean, it's not likely Jim's going to fold then after 2 checks and then that river.
Yeah, there weren't
It's
really
just not
showdown hands that could fold at that point.
only one bet from like an aggressive player who obviously the only way he could win the hand if he has nothing is to bet.
You know, what if you're Jim with the hand like pocket fives or something? You
Yeah,
still
that's
think
it.
he finds a call there?
I mean,
Maybe.
if there's any player to find a call against it with, I think it would be Andy's player type. So
I might not call with fives in that spot, but that's a pretty small range of hands to be bluffing. You're bluffing them out of just 3s to 9s, and that's it.
Do you think there's just too many aces that he may have?
Well, or a jack or
Or a 10.
or a
Yeah.
kings and queens or.
Small loss for Andy, though.
Yeah.
When you have that many chips, it's definitely
just couldn't help
something that-
himself, had to take one shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Zaki take that one down pre-flop. Okay, good.
But did Ben just folded ace-9 under the big there? That's very surprising to see.
what happened?
Zaki opened the button, and Ben just folded ace-9 out of the big.
Wow, I didn't even catch that.
Pretty surprised to see that.
Yeah.
That seems like a very good hand versus the
Are
button
you
open.
sure that's what happened? Is that right?
I just saw the graphic. I mean, maybe it's possible I misread it, but
Oh, yeah. Someone on Twitch saying the same thing. That is pretty surprising.
yeah, not something I would expect to see at all. Especially, not especially from for someone like Ben, who I know likes to get aggressive.
How much does he have?
I mean, it's got like 25 bigs or
Shove
so.
stack. Oh,
You know, I
It is a
mean,
weird-
even shoving there is probably not so bad. Well, maybe if he had less, he could shove.
yeah.
So Jim in the big one has a decision now. Is this a hand that you'd like to 3-bet with here, or would you rather just call here?
Well, I probably call most of the time, but it's just because I don't want to have to deal with Andy getting crazy aggressive.
Sure.
Yeah, when you have a player who has a propensity to 4-bet often.
Andy
No.
always with that slight smile on his face.
We haven't seen him 4-bet yet, have we, Andy?
No, but I would just say if I were at the table with him, seeing how often he's involved in pots and how aggressive he is, I
Yeah.
think it'd be pretty smart to assume that he's definitely able.
Yeah, they probably saw him 4-bet a few times the day before, too.
And you don't come into these final tables without, if you don't know somebody, without doing a little bit of research. And like I said, all these guys are regs. If they don't know somebody, their friends do, and I'm sure they've all got information on how aggressive or solid each other are at this point.
Right.
Airedale in the Twitch chat here says, maybe Ben is thinking that, well, since he's seen Zaki, he limped the button, he limped the small blind. Maybe since he's been limping, that he actually has a hand now that he's raising. And it definitely is a possibility. If you really think Zaki's playing his hands kind of almost face up in that respect, but which is possible. Still think it's a pretty good hand to be folding, but
Yeah. These boards just kind of lock everybody up.
well, the turn is definitely going to slow both of them down now. Even though Andy makes 2-pair here, I think it's he's not really going to want to bet with all the spades out there.
It's interesting to see Jim grab some chips here. How much is that bet?
How much did he bet? 175.
Into 875.
Wow.
Well, the pot was.
Oh, before
the pot was, yeah. The
175.
pot was, you know. I mean, Andy's not going anywhere at this 2-pair, and I don't know. I guess Jim's just sort of blocker.
Just too small.
Blocker betting there. Trying to get the showdown, maybe prevent Andy from bluffing.
Whoa, I don't know about that.
I
think he's
what are you getting to
You
show?
think he's just bluffing?
Yeah,
It's
what are
such
you
a
getting
small
to show?
bet.
Well, what's he trying to get value out of?
I don't know.
So I don't know if it's trying to get the showdown. So yeah, it looks. I think that's a bluff.
Yeah, it's a bluff. It's a bluff.
Andy,
it's a
I feel
bluff,
like
yeah.
like Andy like barely bet that sizing on
Maybe
the
he
flop.
was inducing.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe he was trying to reduce the bluff from Andy. He could put that on the top. Induce the bluff.
Sick induce.
The small bet looks like, I mean, it would probably get more credibility than a big bet, but it's just too good a price. That was just too small.
Just not sure if even a small spade can fold to that.
Yeah, of course not.
I'm just not sure.
So some players in the Twitch chat talking about how, you know, Jim keeps covering his face a little bit with the sweatshirt, and, you know, perhaps that one player noted that he actually did not cover his face while he was thinking about the ace-8 hand. So maybe he does it more when he actually has big hands, and maybe when he's thinking things over, he doesn't do it as much. So something to look for. Maybe I didn't pick up on that myself, but
I was curious about that.
we'll take a look.
earlier.
We can see. We'll see what we can find.
Yeah, I was thinking about that with Lemke and the eating his sweatshirt also.
I think Lemke's just hungry. I think he forgot to have breakfast, and he's just trying to find something to settle his stomach.
Interesting how aggressive these guys were with the medium aces a little while ago. Now they're
We saw
Folding
Jim
them
just fold the ace.
to the most aggressive player.
Well, he's lost a couple of pots. I think, you know, Andy keeps getting the better of you. And maybe he just had enough and just wants to sit one out.
yeah.
We see Lemke call with the 3-2 suited out of the big blind. Bit on the wide side.
Yeah, with 40-ish bigs, that's pretty wide.
Andy's going to bet, and that's just going to take it down. I mean, Lemke's not going, you know, anywhere with the nut low on that board without any sort of draw or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, if Jim wants to bluff that river, I think he should be betting a little bit bigger as well. That's what I think, you know, people are kind of talking about in this chat here. It's really giving Andy too good of a price when, you know, he's going to have a lot of, like, top pair hands and that type of stuff.
There's a good look at how everybody sits right now. One guy has 100 bigs and it's 40, 40, 25, 25.
Yeah, I mean, Andy's, you know, it's not quite a runaway yet, but he's getting to the point where if he hammers these guys down a little bit more, he's just going to run. He's definitely just going to start playing every single pot, even some more so than he is now, and really go for it. 7-3 looks like it's going to be good enough.
I reckon this
He's
is
thinking
open.
about it.
No. I'm shocked.
I wonder what makes some of his decisions.
I'm semi appalled.
Why does he fold 7-3 yet he opened 3-2 off earlier in that same spot, you know? Stack sizes haven't really changed much. I wonder if there's you know, more
Little game flow maybe. I mean,
yeah,
that
like
was
if
right at the
what
very beginning.
exactly
Dynamic.
what logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could just be it's like a game flow, feel based, dynamic thing. Sometimes you just feel, okay, this is just one of those spots. I'm just gonna stop.
I'm pretty big on that. I definitely don't take spots when I feel like the table's, you know, ready to get active or tired of me or whatever. I like to shut it down a little bit.
You should be making adjustments, right?
Right.
If you know that someone's looking like they're ready to fight back.
When Brian flops a pair from the small after limping and then checks it, I don't love that. I'd like to try to end the hand there on the flop if I was Brian. Probably go ahead and bet that one.
A little surprised to see Zaki not even, posture at bluffing that pot. Lemke wasn't showing too much interest in it. If I was him, I wouldn't think my 9 high is very good there. So I'd take a stab. Couldn't be too bad.
Where do you like the bluff of the 9 high in that spot? Do you do it right on the flop? And
honestly, he can probably just do it at any point, whether it be flop, turn, or river. It's probably not the worst thing. I mean, maybe he thinks 9 high just might be good since Lemke would probably raise a lot of his higher cards pre-flop. That's a possibility, but it's just hard for a lot of hands to not have connected with something on that board as Lemke limps there. In the chat here, someone mentions that Ben's been showing good restraint. He's been very card dead, and he's not taking some of those really marginal spots, and he's just kind of working with what he's got. And that's definitely a good point. We've been seeing some of these players get some hands. Actually, we haven't seen too many really big hands yet, like big pocket pairs and that type of stuff. No big confrontations.
Yeah, that's true. The ace-9 hand that he folded in the big blind, he did have a pretty awkward stack, having 25 bigs. Because if he 3-bets, is he folding to the 4-bet?
Probably.
It's a little bit too big to jam. He's a little bit too big of a stack to just get it in.
Sure.
So it's a pretty tough hand to play, really.
Yeah, it definitely is a little awkward. Yeah. Maybe that's what he was thinking. So we see a pretty interesting dynamic between two of our bigger stacks here. Or interesting flop situation, rather, I should say.
There is some dynamic, too, though.
There is also some dynamic going on.
You got a little both.
Jim with 2 pair and Andy with the flush draw. Now, if we're Andy, do you think we're going to see a check raise, or do you think it just calls here? What do you think is a better play?
What's their stack like? It's
they're deep.
it's not so deep that you just hate getting it in, and you get to apply so much pressure, like check raising. And
so you prefer the raise?
Yeah, I think so. Even some value hands can fold too, because they're going to be up against. I mean, that's a scary board,
Sure. Put pressure on Jim when he has a weak king or a queen or something.
Yeah.
Andy opts to call, and Jim turns pretty much the best card he could ask for. And he almost hopes that Andy's drawing to a big hand at this point, because it's going to be real tough to beat him. And I don't think we're going to see Jim slow down. Just going to keep throwing bets out there.
Yeah, earlier we were talking about how Zaki could maybe check back when he made the straight, like that you can get tricky when you only have 1 bet, or only the pot left in your stack. But in this case, you need a couple streets to get the whole stack in. So I definitely don't like checking here. I would definitely bet.
Let's see what Jim's going to bet. Oh, he's opting for a pretty big bet here. It looks like about 350. And it's actually 400,000 looks like the bet is. Which is definitely bigger than we've seen him betting in the past. Especially bigger than his last, small sort of blocker bluff bet. And again, we do notice him covering his mouth. So let's see. Let's see the next time he has a weekend if he doesn't do it.
If he's covering the mouth.
Yeah.
We're 3 for 3 with big hands. So we'll see.
Twitch is spotting the tells.
Yeah, we'll see. It's certainly easier, looking at this stuff, seeing everyone's hand, and being able to, actually watch them with the zoomed-in shot on their face.
How about Andy just check call, check folding with the nut flush draw there?
Yeah, definitely. Good to see discipline. I mean, we've been kind of, making little jabs at Andy because he's been very aggressive and playing some marginal hands, but he's played quite well. He's made a few correct calls, a few correct laydowns.
That's a pretty great laydown. That's not just automatic because the board pairs that you just fold a nut flush draw.
No, definitely not. Jim put a hefty bet out there, but it wasn't so big that it was out of the question that Andy could call.
You just got to wonder what someone who seems like a little bit more of a solid player might be betting again on the turn with there.
Yeah, it's definitely a little hard for Jim to have too many bluffs. But, like Tyler said, he's got a good hand. He's got a good draw. He's got, not flush draw. Like, he can just improve. Maybe even hit his ace, and ace will be good a lot.
being out of position, it's kind of tough to get value out of the hands that you beat if you get there on the end.
Very true. Very true. And Andy wakes up with a hand in the small blind here.
He may not have felt as implied was that good either. I mean, if he gets there, and James had already put in like 400K with like 1.2 back.
Sure,
So
sure.
You're paying 400K with only 1.2 back. Not even sure if when you get there you're gonna get. You may not even have the best hand, but you may not get value either.
Interesting to see Ben call with the king 8 after folding that ace 9. Maybe he just highly prefers playing in position rather than out of position.
Yeah, and I mean, Andy's range is
Definitely wider,
super wide in the
yeah.
small blind.
Check, check on this flop. King of clubs is going to give Ben quite a good club draw here. Interested to see if Andy continues to slow down or applies, you know, makes Ben put some more money in here. He opts to check again. And at this point, I think we just see a value bet from Andy.
Yeah, I would think so.
He does check again, though, and I would guess Ben just checks it down.
Yeah, king high could be good sometimes.
Yeah. But it's not going to win. Andy's going to show the winning hand here. And scoop another pot.
Ben can pat himself in the back for not
bluffing at some point. Or 3-betting, yeah. I don't think Andy's really going anywhere at any point in that hand.
No.
Speaking of Jim and his covering of the face, I think maybe it's a half an hour now since we made our first comment. So
I think he's maybe
information's going to get back to the
picked up
table.